One word. That's all it took.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah. YEAH, Elon Musk types 4 letters in response to a post calling SpaceX a future Dyson swarm company, and the entire financial ecosystem goes into cardiac arrest.
It is efficient. You have to give them that.
Yeah.
But, context is everything here. Because today, Monday, February 2nd, 2026, that isn't just a tweet.
Yeah.
It's the capstone on a mountain of filings, leaks, and government pivots that we're looking at right now.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're looking at what might be the biggest corporate merger in history happening in real time.
Yeah, we're talking about these advanced discussions to merge SpaceX and xAI.
And this isn't just combining 2 tech companies.
Well, not at all. We're looking at the potential birth of X Holdings,
Yeah.
a conglomerate that, analysts are valuing it anywhere from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion.
The stakes are astronomical, literally.
Right, literally.
We have so much to get through. There's the merger mechanics, for one.
And the physics of these orbital data centers everyone's whispering about.
Exactly. And then you have the Pentagon, or the, what are they calling it? The Department of War.
Yeah, that whole rebranding of it as the Arsenal of Freedom, it's a lot to unpack.
It is a massive shift. We need to get our heads around why a rocket company needs a chatbot and why the military wants to put that chatbot in the Situation Room.
Let's start with the paperwork.
Okay. Because usually, rumors are just rumors, but you have actual filings in front of you.
We do. As of January 21st, so just under 2 weeks ago, the paper trail became very, very real.
Okay, what are we seeing?
2 specific entities were filed in the state of Nevada, K2 Merger Sub Inc. and K2 Merger Sub 2 LLC.
K2, as in the mountain.
Almost certainly. K2 is known as the Savage Mountain. It's harder to climb than Everest. The symbolism, implying a steep, dangerous, but massive peak is, well, it's classic Musk.
Of course.
But more important than the name is the name on the documents.
Which is?
Britt Johnson.
The CFO of SpaceX.
The CFO of SpaceX.
Yeah.
So, when you see the chief financial officer of an $800 billion rocket company registering merger subsidiaries, it's not a drill.
No.
The structure that's appearing in the reporting involves swapping xAI shares for SpaceX stock.
Okay, walk me through the logic there. SpaceX is the golden goose. It's the most valuable private company on Earth. xAI is newer, but it hit that, 230 billion mark last November?
That's right.
So why merge them? Why not keep them separate?
It's about the vertical integration of the future economy. Think about what these companies actually do.
Right.
You have X, formerly Twitter, which is the data firehose real-time human thought. You have xAI, using Grok to turn that data into intelligence. And then you have SpaceX and Starlink.
Providing the physical infrastructure to move that intelligence around the planet
No.
and off of it.
It's a closed loop.
It really is.
And financially, they're already, they're incredibly tangled. We know Tesla threw $2 billion into xAI recently.
And SpaceX did too, right?
SpaceX reportedly invested $2 billion into xAI last year as well. So money is already flowing from the rocket company to the AI company.
This just formalizes it.
Merging them formalizes it. It creates X Holdings ahead of the SpaceX IPO, which is tentatively targeted for June of this year.
So this is to supercharge the IPO.
That's what the market analysis suggests. You're not just buying a launch provider. You're buying a piece of the everything company.
That makes sense for the bankers. But I want to push back on the tech side for a second. Mergers usually happen for synergy. What does a rocket actually do with a large language model?
Right.
Does the rocket need to write poetry?
The rocket doesn't need to write poetry, but the network needs to think. And that brings us to the technical core of this story. This is where my brain started to hurt when I was reading the notes on the Dyson swarm.
So Musk agrees, that SpaceX is a Dyson swarm company. And for the listener who didn't grow up reading Isaac Asimov, a Dyson swarm is this hypothetical megastructure where you wrap a star in solar panels to capture all its energy. Ambitious, even for Elon.
It is. But look at the SEC filings. SpaceX has filed to launch a constellation of 1 million satellites.
1 million. We have, maybe 10,000 active satellites up there now?
Roughly. So this is a 100-fold increase, and the filing describes the purpose as creating an orbital data center system.
Taking the server farms and just shooting them into space.
Correct. And the primary driver for that is, it's energy. We're hitting a wall on Earth. AI models are getting so big they're draining.
Draining local power grids.
Exactly. Data centers are competing with entire cities for electricity.
So the logic is just go where the power is.
Go where the power is. The sun emits 3.8 times 10 to the 26th power in watts. It's an incomprehensible number.
Right.
On Earth, the atmosphere filters a lot of that out, and then you have night clouds. In low Earth orbit, or LEO, the solar irradiance is about 1,300 watts per square meter.
Constant power.
If you pick the right orbit, they're targeting what's called a dawn-dusk sun-synchronous orbit. In that specific path, the satellite never goes into the Earth's shadow.
It just rides the line between day and night.
It's bathed in sunlight 24/7.
Okay, so you have free, unlimited, constant nuclear power from the sun. That solves the energy bill. But I'm looking at my laptop right now, and if I run a heavy program, the fans spin up, it gets hot.
And that is the but. The thermodynamics of space are brutal for computers.
Because space is cold, right? Shouldn't that help? I mean, if I stick my computer in a freezer, it runs better. Space is close to absolute zero.
That is the most common misconception.
Yeah.
Space isn't cold in the way we think of it. Space is a vacuum.
Like a thermos.
Exactly like a thermos flask. You put hot coffee in the thermos and it stays hot. Why? Because there's no air to touch the coffee and carry the heat away.
Convection.
Precisely. On Earth, if a chip gets hot, you blow air on it. The air takes the heat away. That's convection. In space, there's no air.
So the heat is trapped.
It has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
It just sits there cooking the silicon.
Okay.
So you have to radiate it. You have to turn that heat into infrared light and shine it out into the void.
And that's governed by an equation.
The Stepan-Boltzmann equation. I'll keep it painless.
Please do.
The law basically says that the amount of heat you can dump is determined by your surface area. You can't cheat it.
Okay.
To cool a single modern AI chip, like an NVIDIA H100 in a vacuum, you need about 1.1 square meters of radiator surface.
That's a huge radiator for one chip, and a data center has thousands of them.
Now you see the scale of the problem.
Yeah.
If you launch a data center with, say, 1,000 H100s, you can't just launch a box. You have to launch something that unfolds into a massive structure.
With giant radiators.
You would need radiators potentially half the size of your solar arrays. We were talking about structures the size of football fields floating in orbit just to keep the processors from melting down.
It sounds like an engineering nightmare.
It is. You have the launch costs, though Starship brings those down significantly. You have radiation shielding because space radiation just destroys silicon. And then there's maintenance.
Right. If a hard drive fails on Earth, a guy named Dave walks over and swaps it.
You can't send days to orbit. So the redundancy has to be insane. But despite all that, the filing explicitly mentions moving humanity toward a Kardashev Type 2 civilization.
Type 2 being a civilization that controls the full energy output of its star.
Musk sees this as the only way to scale intelligence without destroying Earth's biosphere. He's betting that the thermal headache of space is easier to solve than the energy shortage on Earth.
And, well, there is another group of people very interested in AI that isn't dependent on the U.S. power grid.
The Pentagon.
Or, as the sources keep noting, the Department of War.
That terminology shift is fascinating. We have transcripts from a speech by Secretary Pete Hegseth at Starbase, Texas, on January 12th. He repeatedly referred to himself as the Secretary of War.
Which hasn't been the official title since, 1947. It signals a very specific mindset.
It signals a transition to a wartime footing regarding technology. And Hegseth was very clear. He announced that the Pentagon is officially adopting Grok-xAI's chatbot to join Google's Gemini in their networks.
Grok in the Pentagon. What's the actual application here?
On every unclassified and classified network, was the direct quote. They want to feed 2 decades of combat data into these models.
But the selling point for Grok specifically, it's ideological. Hegseth stated the Pentagon's AI will not be woke.
And we hear that term thrown around a lot in the culture wars. What does anti-woke mean when you're talking about a military targeting system?
In this context, Hegseth defined it as operating without ideological constraints that limit warfare. He contrasted it with other commercial models that have safety filters. Guardrails.
Guardrails that might prevent an AI from suggesting lethal options or discussing certain geopolitical realities bluntly.
So they want an AI that doesn't hesitate.
They want a weapon, not a moderator. And to get there, they're adopting Musk's management philosophy inside the DoD. Hegseth outlined a plan to use the algorithm.
Musk's famous 5-step process.
Yes. Step 1, question every requirement. Step 2, delete the dumb ones. Hegseth announced they're setting up a barrier removal SWAT team inside the department.
A SWAT team for red tape.
Their job is to waive non-statutory requirements and, quote, fire bureaucratic blockers. If you're a procurement officer slowing down the integration of AI, you're now a target.
That's a radical restructuring of the defense bureaucracy.
It is. They view this merger SpaceX-xAI, Starlink, as a singular asset. They are calling it the arsenal of freedom.
And the argument is,
Right.
what? That authoritarian regimes have state control, but America has this unique combination of open science and massive private capital.
Exactly. They see Musk's empire not just as a contractor, but as a strategic partner.
But that partnership brings us to the risks, because you're talking about concentrating an immense amount of power in one boardroom.
The pushback is coming from multiple directions: physically, politically, and ethically.
So let's start with the physical risk, because it's the most immediate, the 1 million satellites.
1 million satellites. We are already struggling with space debris. Just recently, the Russian Lukolim satellite fragmented in orbit.
It blew up.
It broke apart, likely from an impact. And every time that happens, it creates a shotgun blast of debris flying around at 17,000 miles per hour.
Which can hit another satellite.
And that one breaks apart. It's the Kessler syndrome.
A cascading chain reaction. If you pack LEO with 1 million orbital data centers, you're exponentially increasing the chance of a collision.
Think of it like a highway. If you have 10 cars, it's fine. If you have 1 million cars moving at supersonic speeds, one fender bender destroys the entire grid.
And if the Kessler syndrome triggers, we get a debris shell so thick that we can't launch rockets through it.
Which is the ultimate irony, right?
Yeah.
Musk wants to go to Mars, but if he clogs up the driveway with data centers, he can never leave the house.
He traps us here. Okay, so that's a very real physical risk. Then you have the political risk. We have a letter from Democratic Representatives Valerie Fauci, Adam Smith.
They're raising conflict of interest flags. I mean, remember, Musk was co-chairing the Department of Government Efficiency while receiving billions in contracts.
But more specifically, they're worried about foreign money.
Right, because xAI isn't just funded by Musk. It has global investors. The letter explicitly mentions allegations of covering up Chinese investments in SpaceX.
That's the black box problem. If you merge two private giants, transparency usually goes down, not up.
Exactly. If xAI merges into SpaceX and xAI has investors from the Middle East or Asia, do those investors now have a claim on the rocket technology?
Or the military AI data?
The lines get very, very blurry.
And finally, the AI safety angle. You mentioned Grok being anti-woke, but Grok has had, well, issues.
It has. Grok has been flagged for generating non-consensual deepfake images. It's been blocked in countries like Malaysia and Indonesia. The EU and UK are opening investigations into its safety safeguards.
So while the Pentagon is cheering for an AI without constraints, the rest of the world is terrified of an AI without safeguards.
It's a total clash of philosophies. One side says speed and lethality are the only metrics that matter in a war. The other says if you remove the brakes, you crash the car.
And this merger brings all of this under one roof. So we're looking at 3 pillars here.
3 pillars of the future infrastructure. 1, global connectivity via Starlink. 2, infinite compute via xAI and these orbital data centers. And 3, physical access to space via SpaceX.
Connectivity, compute, and access.
Whoever controls those 3 effectively controls the nervous system of the planet.
It's almost a new form of sovereignty.
It is. And that brings us to the real question for you, the listener. This isn't just about whether you should buy the stock at the IPO. It's about where the internet actually lives.
Right. We think of the internet as this ethereal thing, but it lives in boxes on the ground.
If Musk succeeds, he decouples intelligence from Earth. He doesn't need our power grid. He doesn't need our fiber cables. He builds a parallel infrastructure in the sky.
But in doing so, he might create a ceiling of debris that locks us in, or unleash an AI that we can't control.
It is the highest stakes gamble imaginable.
I want to leave the listener with one final thought. We talked about the arsenal of freedom. We talked about the laws of physics. But what about the laws of man? If we move our banking, our military intelligence, our personal data to servers floating in international waters, or international vacuum.
Who owns the law up there?
Exactly. Is a server in space subject to the laws of California, the laws of the United States? Or does it answer only to X holdings?
That is the trillion-dollar question.
And we will be watching to see how it's answered. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Goodbye.